Okay. Actually, before I continue, there's a mistake I need to rectify, dear listener. Mistake I made in the previous commentary, Bran 3, because I said that King Rob, at this point in the novel, has to go and apologize in person to old Walder Frey, and admit he done a poo-poo if he wants Walder's forgiveness, as well as the hand of his daughter in marriage. I feel quite the fool right now. Now, of course, okay, that was a slip, but a mistake nonetheless. Because now, obviously, the hand of one of Walder's daughters in marriage is not for Rob. He's already married to that Jane Westerling. It's uncle, in fact, nuncle Edmure, who has accepted to join the two houses by marrying one of old Walder's daughters. Apologies, I think I should you know what, I think I should start every commentary with a section where I rectify previous slips, because I think I do a lot of those. In fact, with regards to that Jane Westerling, I think I lost count of all the times I actually called her Jane Poole. Oh well, senility. Okay, so Jon. Jon scaled the wall a number of days ago, and he's now somewhere in the gift, the new gift. Well, we shall see. There's the gift anyway. The gift, that geographical area, making his second appearance in the space of 2 chapters. I guess George R. R. Martin must have thought, okay, all right, this gift thing has... Okay, no, I don't do a very good George R. R. Martin. All right, this gift has to be really consolidated now, so let's put it there on 2 chapters back to back, so it'll get into the reader's skulls once and for all, with its backstory, history, and everything. As if to say, remember, dear readers, it's always been there, even though I didn't mention it in the first 2 books. You can't mention everything, all right? I'm revealing things bit by bit. Now, it's got a whole backstory involving Bran the Builder, Queen Alysanne. Go reread the previous chapter, Bran 3, if you feel the need to reacquaint yourself with the whole affair. Or, better still, go and listen to my commentary for it, which is really, really great, I must say. With the exception of a slip or 2. How many days have passed since the scaling of that treacherous wall, I hear you ask? Well, according to my trusty, most precise ASOIAF timeline, a spreadsheet you can find online, about a week has passed, well, 6 days to be precise. Team Jon climbed the wall at Greyguard, you remember, and 6 days later, there they are. Where is there? Yeah, well, we'll have to read on. First thing first, upon leafing through the pages, we learn that Ygritte is with him, and she's never been this far south of the wall. In fact, correct me if I'm wrong, I think she's never been south of the wall at all before, and that's why she keeps asking questions. Hey, Jon, why is, hey, where, and so on, punching him or elbowing him, as she's wont to do. Like, for example, she spots this huge round tower on a hill in front of them, and she goes, why, look at that. So this must be one of those humongous castles I heard so much about, yeah? Surely, no doubt, built by some king, huh? And Jon is all like, oh, no, dear. I think you'll find just regular northerners built it. See, that's the kind of feat we northerners are capable of. Well, southerners, really, from your point of view, because it's all relative. Okay, this dialogue is slightly paraphrased, but yeah, that's the gist in the gift. The gist in the gift. So, dear listener, welcome, by the way. Welcome to yet another rambling commentary by an insane person online. We're reading Jon V from A Storm of Swords. Make yourself comfortable. But surely, I hear you ask, wasn't Jon V in Roman numerals, or indeed John V, also the name of a pope? Why, I'm glad you asked. For John V was indeed a pope in Rome between 685 and 686, Anno Domini, first pope of the Byzantine and papacy consecrated without the direct imperial approval, or so I'm told. Yeah, don't you feel more educated all of a sudden? I know, no, but really, oh, it might also be a name of a king. Shall I look for that? Kings. I should also include kings, actual kings in our universe, what is commonly known and referred to as the real world. No, but seriously, let's get back to the book. Okay, so no, John. Let's go back to our John. If you've come here straight from the previous John POV chapter, some readers do that, to follow single characters, story arcs, then good. But really, this is one of those cases where you'd get more out of it in terms of having a solid grasp on continuity in this novel if you arrived at this chapter straight from the previous one, in the regular book order of chapters, reading chapter 41 right after chapter 40. Straightforward enough, because these two chapters, ideally, should be read back-to-back, Bran and Jon. The key of it all being precisely in one of those round towers that Ygritte keeps mistaking for castles. Now, I know that my policy on spoilers can be summarized in one word, none. I will try and give out 0 spoilers in this series, and whenever I come up with something that's linked to another chapter, it will be a previous chapter, not a future one. In other words, I'll be looking back and not ahead, but I'm assuming you have made it at least to the end of this chapter, so you know that we're basically in one of those portals in this series, where a POV character sort of interacts with another POV character. I mean, in general, it's not a big deal. It happens all the time, right from the very first chapters of book 1, But this time, it's two characters that haven't seen each other in ages. And we don't find out that we're reading a POV character peeking into the story of another POV character until later. Or rather, we find out bit by bit, thanks to George giving out bits of info one by one, sparingly, until the penny drops, huh? Yeah, he loves to do that. So Ygritte is skeptical. Ygritte goes, yeah, why would they build such a ginormous castle only to leave it behind? This whole place is deserted all around, which is really sort of like the same story we heard in the previous chapter. Over the centuries, the number of new recruits on the wall dwindled. At the time when that tower was built, only 2 or 3 of the 19 castles along the wall, capital W, only 2 or 3 of those 19 castles were unmanned. Whereas now it's the other way around. Only 2 or 3, well, 3 to be precise. The Castle Black, Shadow Tower, and Eastwatch by the sea. So it became progressively easy for raiders from the north to come and do their thing, raiding. And it came to the point that no one farmed those lands anymore, and even the lords up in the tower went, all right, guys, you know what? Yeah, time to pack. Let's go, shall we? And off they went. But Ygritte still finds it hard to believe that towers as big as that could be built without the labor of giants, which is kind of confusing. It's kind of confusing because, according to the legend, giants were involved in building most of the structures designed by Bran the Builder, this Bran the Builder guy, if legends are to be believed. But Jon skips that part and just goes, yeah, look, if you're impressed by that tower, wait till you experience the fascinating architectural styles the Seven Kingdoms have to offer. I mean, seriously. I'm told back in Old Town there's a tower that's actually taller than the wall. No, which I will remind you is 700 feet tall. And that tower in Old Town, which they don't call High Tower for nothing, is taller than that. At which point Ygritte goes, yeah, right, sure, But Jon's thoughts have already turned all soppy and romantic and stuff, because he's thinking, yeah, wouldn't it be great to show this gal around Westeros, Winterfell, feed each other morsels of mutton in Winterfell's great hall. Oh, dream on, Jon. Pick flowers for her in the glass gardens. Picture cheesy music in the background and the scene with a kind of like a shady, what do you call it, a fuzzy, out of focus sort of filter. An augmented scale playing out somewhere. And a harp. Anyway, yeah, wouldn't it be great? Picking flowers for Ygritte in the glass gardens. The what do you call it? It was Eddard Stark's name for Winterfell's. What do you call it? Greenhouses. That's it. And do the wild thing right there, by the heart tree. You know what I mean? With the gods as witnesses. Yeah, I wouldn't mind a bit of that. But no, I mean, come on, it's impossible. It's never going to happen. So, and he snaps out of it when Ygritte proposes, hey, she's always coming up with these ideas, yeah? She goes, hey, how about you and I settle in that tower, huh? After we're done with that little business we have to attend presently. That little business being a full-scale attack between Northerners and wildlings, possibly a bloodbath. But this is when Jon gives us another bit of retconned piece of history linked to the new gift, because he doesn't say it out loud. He just thinks it. He thinks, his dad, the late Ned Stark, did in fact have plans on raising new lords and settling them in all those abandoned holdfasts as a shield against wildlings. So this is an idea that might go somewhere, in future books. I don't know. Although really, apparently, a lot of red tape would be involved in the operation, not to mention that no one would be interested in taking up the offer in the middle of winter. It's a dream for spring, really. That's exactly how it's called here in the text. So, at that point, dear listener, you might be thinking, all right, it's never going to happen, right? Like A Dream of Spring is never going to be published, I mean, I don't know if you're listening to this from a happier historical age when the 7th volume in the saga has actually come out and it's possible to simply waltz into your local bookstore and just go, hello, my good man, just hand me a crisp, brand new copy of A Dream of Spring, will you? For I intend to purchase it and flip through the pages ASAP. Yeah, no, right now, even the Winds of Winter sounds like utopia at present. So, yeah, who knows? Anyway, dream for spring. But Jon says none of that, just keeps it to himself. He says none of that. He just reminds Ygritte that the place is deserted precisely because of raiders like her mates. Free folk, Rattleshirt and the like. Coming here, plundering, kidnapping women even. He's always using Rattleshirt as a bad example because he's made, friends with other guys, free folk people. But he always needs to say, well, look, there's a reason we're at war, okay? Because of people like Rattleshirt, the Lord of Bones, so stealing women. And this is where the cultural differences between these two characters really show because Ygritte goes, yeah, well, so what? I mean, better to steal a woman, or better to steal in general than to kneel. Better to steal than to kneel to a king and be given scraps in return, as a reward. You know what I mean? And what's wrong with being stolen? I, speaking as a woman, say this is our custom. Still better than being given away in marriage by one's father, like you guys do around here with all your arranged unions of houses, And Jon has a weak argument to that because he goes, well, but if you're stolen, well, what if you're stolen by like an abusive husband, huh? Which really, I mean, come on, Jon, that could also be the case in an arranged marriage, right? I mean, imagine being the unfortunate woman to be given in marriage to, say, Ramsay Snow. That's all I'll say about it for now. And then he goes, okay, but maybe not an abusive husband, but maybe some guy who never washes and stinks all day, huh? What do you say to that? Because say what you like, but lords here down south do bathe regularly, and they use perfume, which is more than I can say about you lot, you know? Uh-huh. And she goes, yeah, no, but she has an answer for everything. She goes, yeah, well, it's not like I'm turned on by men who smell like flowers. Excuse me. Which is probably a jab, you know, against perfumes, I guess. What's wrong with flowers? Yuck! Don't talk to me about flowers, mate. I'm not a bee, am I? At which point she reminds Jon of how limited his general knowledge actually is, or you know nothing, Jon Snow, to use the verbatim quote. And Jon right now is thinking, oh, well, I guess I can scrap picking up flowers for her in the glass garden right off my wish list. While Ygritte goes on a sort of a Marxist sort of rant, you know, properly being property being a basically theft, you know. So, you can't own a river or a rock, which really sounds like out of Monty Python's The Holy Grail. You know, all that's missing is some kind of like, oh, the guy who's sitting on the Iron Throne is not my king. I don't remember voting for him. And also, it's a little bit of presentism that we already saw in the previous Arya chapter, where Sandor Clegane, the Hound, sort of like debates and dismantles the concept of a homeland, of the realm. You know, what's a realm? Rocks, rivers, and trees. Nobody owns that. Why be loyal to that? You know, a flag just being a piece of cloth and da. And and so she goes, yeah, no. Well, you think you just build a wall and say, okay, all right, a fence and barbed wires and all that, and go, everything on this side is mine. How can you claim ownership? Mance Raider is going to show you all, you guys. And she shakes her fist in the general southern direction. At which point, Jon first looks around, you know, to ensure none of the other fellas from the party can hear him. You know, Erok, Big Boyle, and Hempen Dan. Gotta love these names. And then he just whispers to her, Iggy. Yeah, that's what I'm going to call you now. Iggy, listen, yeah? You do realize that mans can't win this war, right? To which she just goes, no, dear boy. At the risk of sounding repetitive, your knowledge of things really is poor, Jon Snow. Have you seen the Free Folk fight? Yeah, I know. I've seen them, actually. I know that you guys are always going all out, you know, giving it 110%, but they're not team players, you know. Jon has embraced this kind of corporate HR team building sort of talk. But this is where he slips, you know, and he goes, yeah, they're not team players. They're just going randomly, I'm gonna screw you up, man. Come over here. And that's why they're not disciplined, and that's why they're going to lose and die. They. See, he says they. And Ygritte hits the roof that, what the hell, they? You mean we are going to lose? You're one of us, aren't you? I vouched for you, you moaning little git. And the scene turns into one of those kiss me, you fool kind of moments. Because she grabs him, pushes him up against the tree and kisses him like there's no tomorrow. Oh, sorry. I was just kissing my own hand. I just wanted to show you what is happening in this current scene. The other guys from the party, you know, pass them by and giggle. First guy goes, oh, come on, there's no time to try and have a baby right now. The second guy goes, oh, get a room, you two. Third guy goes, additional whimsical comment about you two lovebirds. You get that? She goes, you get that? Right after the kiss. Your fate will be the same as mine, as ours, indeed, Jon Snow, if that is indeed your name. It better be, because I've used it like 2,000 times by now. Concludes Ygritte. Actually, she adds something interesting. She goes, all men must die, by the way. I mean, it's a common enough expression, a rather self-evident one. But do you think that this expression, which also happens to be an old Valyrian sort of ethos, sort of, not to mention the motto of the Faceless Men, do you think it's placed there at random? Now, things are seldom placed at random in this series, so I don't know. I bet it's going to resurface. Should Jon bump into a character who kind of lives by that motto, maybe a certain Targaryen character, and then go, oh, you know that motto too? Yes, so do I. I don't know. I don't know, because if that does happen, it's going to be happening in a yet unpublished novel. So this doesn't count as a spoiler. It's just me musing. Anyway, just so he doesn't forget, Jon keeps reminding himself and us readers of his mission. All right, dude, maintain. All right, your motivation is to escape the wildlings at the first opportunity and reach Castle Black before they do. Remember Corin Halfhand and what he said. You must not balk, whatever is asked of you. The Halfhand, was very precise on that, specific. He said, ride with them, eat with them, fight with them, for as long as it takes. And he didn't specifically say that, but also a bit of hanky-panky with a certain woman kissed by fire that we captured, and you were meant to whack, but instead decided to go another way with her. So do that as well, a lot. And he's thinking, okay, well, Halfhand said all that, and then what? And then what? It's not like he can get a pardon for Ygritte. If he should at some point slip away, escape, he can't get a pardon for Ygritte. Not to mention that from what she's just said, she sounds unlikely to even accept a pardon from the Night's Watch. If he could kidnap her and take her to Castle Black, which is where he's headed at the first opportunity he gets, which he has been waiting for a while now, but he can't seem to, escape the ever watchful eyes of the Thenns, this kind of like military tribe way up north, embedded in the free folk armies. And from time to time, in their march, these Thenns, especially their leader, Magnar, and the Styr the Magnar and company, take Jon aside and keep asking him the same question. I've got it right here. About Castle Black's defenses, to see if he starts contradicting himself. I guess, I don't know. But the fact is, the truth is dire enough. Here, let me read you the passage. Thanks God for bookmarks. Castle Black had no defenses, but for the wall itself, it lacked even wooden palisades or earthen dikes. The so-called castle was nothing more than a cluster of towers and keeps, 2/3 of them falling into ruin. As for the garrison, the old bear had taken 200 on his ranging. Had any returned? Bah, Jon could not know. Perhaps 400 remained in the castle, but most of those were builders or stewards, not rangers. And we don't actually know how many of those who survived both the Fist of the First Men and Craster's Keep, how many of them actually made it back to Castle Black? I mean, we know that the various, the Gren, Dolorous, Ed, Bedwick, Dywyn, they escaped, urging Samuel Tarly to come with them, which he couldn't because he was still shell-shocked, if that's the right word. until he eventually snapped out of it and fled the scene with Gilly or Gilly, plus Baby on board. Did they all make it to Castle Black? We don't know. And Sam being our only POV, our eyes on the entire part of that story, we really don't have much to work on. Jon also quickly goes through the list of guys who stayed behind at Castle Black and are likely to be there, he thinks. Blind Maester Aemon, I wouldn't count on him to man the defenses, to put up a formidable attack against the wildlings. He's like 100 years old. And he's half-blind steward Clydas. One-armed Donald Noy. Could have been all right. This could be a fierce opponent. Drunken Septon Celador. Don't count him in among the, defenders of the realm. Deaf Dick Follard. Three-Finger Hob the cook. Old Sir Winton Stout, as well as, I'm reading here, I don't remember I remember them all by heart, as well as Halder and Toad and Pip and Albert, and the rest of the boys who trained with him. Not exactly a formidable armada, Although, truth be told, this is where I get to link with a previous chapter, in the previous book. As truth be told, Jon does somehow forget those new recruits. I don't know if you remember, but way back in A Clash of Kings, Jon 1, it's that far back, there was a whole bunch of new recruits to the wall brought over by Conway, a wandering crow, A wandering crow being a recruiter for the Night's Watch, sort of like Yoren, remember him, and especially Daeron, who will become prominent in a Feast for Crows. But at the time, right before the Great Ranging North, we saw Jon and Donald Noy observing these new recruits being trained by Sir Andrew Tarth, Alistair Thorne having been sent to Eastwatch. So the new, Master of Arms, is this guy Andrew Tarth. Here, let me read you the passage. I got it here. Got lots of tomes and volumes right here. I came prepared. Alistair Thorne, so they're observing these new recruits being trained. They smell of summer, says Jon. Where did Conway find them? And Donald Noy replied, a lord's dungeon near Gulltown. A brigand, a barber, a beggar, 2 orphans, and a boy whore. With such do we defend the realm of men. Well, true, Donald. But by now, these characters have become, badasses of sorts, especially the one you refer to as a boy whore. And we can look forward to seeing those characters more fleshed out and kicking arse, but all in due time. That guy's called Satin. The guys, I don't remember the orphans' names, but Satin. We'll go through it. It's a bowman, I think. Okay. We'll just have to wait. We'll get to it when we get to it. Okay, be it as it may, with or without the new recruits, Jon knows his Night's Watch brothers don't stand a chance. Let's face it. Unless he finds a way to warn them, first of all, because, otherwise they'll just get murdered in their beds, and then that's the end of the Night's Watch. And thus my watch ends. And we're back to the same old tragic situation. Damned if I do, damned if I don't, because even if he does manage to break free and warn the Watchmen, what if Magnar grabs Ygritte and exact revenge on her? Making her pay for Jon's treachery? That would not be cool, because in the next 2 paragraphs, Jon goes on to describe how he feels about her, which, if you read that passage, it's nothing short of having fallen for her big time, man. She really did a number on him, dear listener, which is heartbreaking. Not to mention the other free folk guys, not so much the Thens, who don't really interact with Jon and only speak the old tongue among them. which Jon doesn't understand. But Mance Raider's guys, Gaunt, Quiet Erok, and Gregarious Grig the Goat. Oh, he loves his, not assonance, what do you call it, alliteration. Gregarious Grig the Goat, the boys Quart and Bodger, Hempen Dan the Rope Maker. Oh, that's why they call it Hempen. All right, I see. And Del, oh, Del boy, same age as Jon, same aspirations. Man, it's becoming harder and harder to think he will have to betray these people because he has been fraternizing with them, day after day. Can you imagine that? At night, sitting around the fire, they tell Jon of what they want to do when that whole business is behind them, That same old business being a full-scale attack between Northerners and wildlings and possibly a bloodbath, That small business they have to attend to. So he tries not to think about all that messed up stuff. So his thoughts go back to Ghost. Where's the direwolf? Did he make it to Castle Black in the end? For some reason, the HBO TV series went in a different direction with Ghost, and they left him chained at Craster's Keep the whole time. So he never experienced any of the great ranging north. Anyway, right now we don't know where he is, because Jon, for all his warging, skin-changing abilities, he cannot sense him anywhere. So he must be far away, we imagine. Anyway, they keep marching through the gift, old and new, until their GPS tells them there's a village ahead of them, just a couple of miles. So they all agree to camp there for the night. And when they finally reach the village, here, let me read you the description. So tell me if that doesn't send chills down your spine now or maybe later when you put the pieces together. Well, no, you have read the chapter, so you know where we are, right? The village sat beside a lake, and had been so long abandoned that most of the houses had collapsed. Even the small timber inn that must once have been a welcome sight for travelers stood half fallen and roofless. Roofless inn, you say? Whenever the lightning flashed, he could see a stone round tower rising from an island out in the lake, but without boats they had no way to reach it. Yeah, sound familiar? Yeah, any first reader arriving to this chapter straight from the previous one, Bran 3, should, this should be a case of massive deja vu, An inn by the lake, an island in the lake with a tower in the middle, lightning storm. Yeah. So anyway, they send Erok and Del ahead, but Del returns immediately while Erok spots a man lighting a fire in the hearth at the roofless inn, which he then reports back to the team. There's a guy, warming himself by the fire. Jon doesn't like it one bit. Who is this guy? Some old guy with a horse, apparently. So says Erok. At which point, the Thens immediately proceed with military precision to spread out to establish a perimeter around the village, whilst others went prowling through the houses, to make sure that no one else is hiding nearby. And after that, they just do what they do best. They throw the poor fella to the ground, hold his horse, and proceed to loot his things. Yeah, these Thens, huh? What are you going to do? And that obviously doesn't sit well with Jon, because the Stir the Magnar had previously given orders to kill any kneeler they might encounter. So Jon tries to walk away. He doesn't even want to be part of it. But there's guards around the perimeter. Whoops. Ha ha, just where do you think you're going, young man? They tell him. No, except that they say it in the old tongue. So, all right, goes Jon, and sits by himself in a corner by a wall. He finds a dry place because it has started to rain heavily now. And this is where we find out that the place is called Queen's Crown, because Ygritte joins Jon and he informs her that he knows the place. Apparently there's a causeway kind of shaped like a crown, right beneath the water of the lake, and it's painted gold in honor of Queen Alisan, who spent a night at the tower centuries ago. And we could actually walk there, says Jon, if we can find the causeway, assuming that this is indeed the place I'm thinking about. You see, Jon also listened to old Nan's stories. That's how we know about this thing. And why would they want to walk to the tower? Well, that's because Jon has the sneaky feeling that there's someone up that tower, and we know who that someone is. And he'd like to check. Or maybe he's thinking that could be a way for them to hide from the Thens, and hopefully wait for them to go look for Jon and Ygritte somewhere else, at which point the causeway, those people at the tower, at which point they could use the causeway to go back and leave the place to go where? You know, all these plans are insane and hopeless, but yeah, what else can you cook up in such dire circumstances? And but still, okay, no, they don't go up the tower. And they patiently wait for the next lightning to strike, at which point both the causeway, painted gold, they can see the gold paint. It's kind of like teeth, isn't it? A crown. The way they're described, they remind me more of gold, teeth. Both the causeway and the people up the tower are all visible because of the lightning. And this is this is where Jon points at the tower and sees some strange folks up there, which confirms what the Thens said earlier on, because they heard some noises coming from up there, something about Hodor. Mm-hmm. So we now know that the weird guy pointing to the tower, spotted by, I think, Jojen, was in fact Jon Snow. Yeah, that's right. Not only is this the same place visited by another POV character in a previous chapter, that's happened before, think Jaime and Arya into almost consecutive chapters. But it's actually happening at the same time. First time I read it, I was like, oh, what? No, George. Oh, clever, rather clever, witty. Anyway, so Jon and Ygritte discuss this Queen Alisan a little more. They're always talking politics, religion. It's a deep relationship between these two. She was nicknamed the Good Queen, but if you think Ygritte is going to leave that unchallenged, think again. Because she goes, well, if she was so good, why didn't she tear down that wall, Mr. Gorbachev? Huh? Cold War reference. But Jon goes, but she was awesome. She was awesome. She had a dragon and all. Bet you'd love to see one, huh? Except you can't, because they're all dead. I had a friend who dreamed of dragons. The stories I could tell you. His name was Tyrion. A bit of a bookworm. He only read about dragons, blah, 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 blah. But he can't finish the sentence because the Thens are calling him, Oi, Jon Snow, come over here, mate. Actually, what the guy says is, Magda wants. Which is, his way of saying, the Magna requires your presence, if that's not too inconvenient for you to present. So Jon goes, Ygritte trots right behind him. The Thens, have given up trying to stop her by now. When Jon gets there, he finds he has to confront the one thing every single insider dreads. A la Donnie Brasco, the kind of guy, the insider in the mob, but he's actually a cop, undercover cop. And namely, that's the classical trope. If you're one of us, prove it. Kill this random guy. Yeah. I bet there's a name for that. There's a name for that trope. There must be. And the random guy being the lonely stranger who'd come to the deserted village with a horse, and he had the unfortunate idea of finding shelter from the rain in that roofless inn. He's just a harmless old geezer just there kneeling because they forced him to kneel, surrounded by wooden spears and bronze swords. And yes, I mean, Stir did say, let's kill every kneeler we meet. All right, let's agree on that one policy, he said. All right, mate, but if you force the guy to kneel, that's kind of cheating. Okay, I know that kneeler is free folk for anyone south of the wall who is in a sort of like a social contract with a liege lord, which does entail kneeling, and in a ultimately in a social contract with the Iron Throne, I suppose. But yeah, okay, so yeah, he's the old guy is a kneeler, and so Jon is told to do the deed. Damn, the poor fella doesn't even say a word. He doesn't beg. He doesn't say defiant things like, do it, you bloody wildlings, you cowards. Here, pooh, this is what I think of you. No, he does none of that. He's just silent, making it all the more difficult, And 1,000 different thoughts go through Jon's head, as he unsheaths Longclaw, the sword that Lord Commander Mormont gave him, which was initially promised to Jorah Mormont. Okay, well, we're not going to go off a tangent right now. So he's thinking, but this is so unfair. This is grossly unfair. Why should a man not be free to mind his own business here south of the wall in the realm, I will have you know, where there's law and order, it is well known, without being necessarily being torn to pieces by a bunch of strangers? I mean, it was all well and good when I was with Corin Halfan's team, up in the Skirling Pass, and we killed a bunch of guys in very similar circumstances. The day I, quote-unquote, stole Ygritte, by the way. But that was a lawless land. Here, no, that's just a tad rude around here, isn't it? In my opinion. So he hesitates. And Styr eggs him on, come on, man, do it. And it's even more painful because Ygritte is also going, predictably, yeah, what are you waiting for? Just do it, chop. You didn't hesitate when he came to whacking Orell up in the Skirling Pass. Yeah, same episode. Ygritte too is not likely to forget that particular day, Orell, by the way, was another skin changer, which it is skin changed with an eagle, which the HBO TV series merged in a typical, it's their typical policy. Let's merge a whole bunch of characters together, make the story simpler. And they merged him together with another wildling character, a wargame master called Varamir Sixskins. And this one single character was played by Mackenzie Crook. I thought I'd point out here for no reason at all. Anyway, so Jon flatly refuses. Styr is not impressed, predictably. So to cut a long story short, no pun intended, it's Ygritte who draws out the dagger and slits the man's throat. Yeah, see, that's how it's done. And then she comments with her usual catchphrase, "Oh, Jon Snow, your knowledge is limited indeed." As she wipes... No, she doesn't wipe she throws at Jon's feet. And just as Styr the Magnar is about to order... Is it Styr or Styr, by the way? I think a lot of people pronounce it Styr. It's S-T-Y-R. The Magnar is about to order the Thens to presumably kill Jon for his insubordination. Listen what George R. Martin writes next. And then death leapt down amongst them. Yeah, death in the form of a direwolf. Yeah, remember? Yeah, you haven't forgotten, have you? Summer is out here. This is the text. Let me just read you this paragraph. The lightning flash left Jon nightblind, but he glimpsed the hurtling shadow half a heartbeat away before he heard the shriek. The first 10 died as the old man had, blood gushing from his torn throat. Nice, picturesque. Then the light was gone and the shape was spinning away, snarling, and another man went down in the dark. These dire wolves are dangerous when they mean to. There were curses, shouts, howls of pain. Jon saw Big Boyle stumble backward and knock down 3 men behind him. Ghost, he thought for one mad instant. Could it be Ghost? Yeah. Ghost leapt the wall. Maybe. Then the lightning turned the night to day, and he saw the wolf standing on Dell's chest, blood running black from his jaws. Grey, he's grey. Okay, first of all, this first thought is, this must have been Ghost, but, okay, I understand the adrenaline, the agitation, anxiety, what should we call it? It's the action, you don't have the classical, you don't have time to think. But it was part of his plan to send Ghost to the wall so that hopefully his Black Crow Night's Watch brothers would recognize him, let him in, and then if anything, maybe Ghost had managed to slip through the, to the door, the entrance of Castle Black somehow for a bit of hunting, and that is a lot more likely than the Ghost scaling a 700-foot wall. Come on, Jon. It was your plan, wasn't it? Because that's the first thing he assumes upon seeing what he thinks, what he first assumes is Ghost south of the wall, down there in the gift. In fact, the new gift, possibly. So anyway, no, so December. No, it's not Ghost. Ghost is an albino. This is Grey. This is a grey wolf. Who could it be? So yeah, I read you the full paragraph. I felt it deserved to be read in full because I love how it's written. And yes, of course, it is a dire wolf. It is summer. It's not Ghost. It's not Grey Wind. But for a moment, yeah. I mean. For a moment, yeah, he does think, okay, well, he's thinking a lot of different things all at once, Jon, in the middle of all that. I mean, he's thinking, oh my God, I mean, this is God sent, this dire wolf, whatever his name is. I mean, it's all the confusion. He realizes, okay, this, you know what, this is as good a chance to make a runner as I'm ever going to get. So he slashes his way with a sword. He slashes his way through his now former wildling companions, and somehow manages to get to the dead guy's mare and jump on her back. Hens try to grab him. Someone calls his name. Could be Ygritte, could be Styr. He doesn't even know because it's all adrenaline right now. He doesn't even recognize who's calling behind him, who's calling his name behind him, and he's off. Plunging through mud and rain and thunder on the horse. Can you just picture it, Meanwhile, the wildlings are in hot pursuit, throwing spears at him for a while, but he soon loses them. He loses them, and it's only hours later, after galloping like crazy, cloppity-clop, that's the sound of the hoofs, like galloping like crazy through the storm, that 3 things dawn on him. A, oops, he's got an arrow stuck on his right thigh. B, that was indeed a dire wolf he saw. So could it be Robb? But Robb's dire wolf. That Robb is back in the north. As crazy as it sounds, why not? And C, that's it. Unfortunately, that's it for the honeymoon with Ygritte. No more dancing under the sheepskin with her, to use her parlance. That's it. Let's not forget that the dude is in love, so it mustn't be easy right now. Yeah, probably. But right now there's more pain he has to go through because the arrow has to come out somehow, and that somehow is all the way through his thigh because apparently there's no way to pull it back out. You know how the tips are designed. The aerodynamics. Ouch. So it's probably the most painful thing he's ever had to do in his life. So he does it without fainting. when and if he tells this story to his grandchildren, how I did all that self-surgery without fainting, I will never know. Choo. Rambo doesn't hold a candle to me. Conveniently, there's a shallow stream nearby where he can wash the blood away, which must be like gallons at this point. And he bandages the thigh as best he can and looks at the arrow a bit more closely. Because is it one of Ygritte's? Meh. Who could blame her for firing an arrow at me? Back there, Styr the Magnar had called her Crow Wife. So at the very least, even if she didn't necessarily intend to kill Jon, at the very least she had to prove that she was still on the level, so good for her, huh? Anyway, moving in slow motion, he gets back on the saddle, which he realizes isn't actually there. No, there's no saddle. Oh my God, how did I... ouch. He's on the mare's back. And he heads north towards Castle Black while the wound is still throbbing like hell. And he's thinking, dear listener, if I'm going home at last, why do I feel so hollow? Yeah. You know what? Well, Jon Snow, we know why. Expect to feel like that for a while. Yeah. Take one of these and call me in the morning, Jon Snow. But in the words of the late Leonard Cohen, there ain't no cure for love. And this, dear listener, is where Jon V from Storm of Swords, Song of Ice and Fire, the Song. Song of Ice and Fire, that's Storm of Swords ends. So I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. Lots of, pivotal plot points here. And I look forward to talking to you again in our next chapter, which I believe is Daenerys something or other. And what do you know? For chapter 41, we have just done reading the first half of the book, which was in fact split in 2 volumes for the Harper's Voyager edition, the UK, the one available in the UK, great the British version of the novels. And the two halves of the novel had some corny name that I'm sure was not designed, the titles that were not cooked up by George R. R. Martin, something like Blood and Gold, Snow and Honor. I keep forgetting those titles. But anyway, no, the next chapter we will be on the 2nd volume, which is actually, it's the edition I own, because as far as those books that were split in 2, Dance with Dragons, Storm of Swords, I sort of decided to go for the British edition because I was traveling a lot back then and it was easier to carry a lighter book whenever I went somewhere, in airports and so on. True story, if not a particularly exciting one. But anyway, no. What is exciting is that we will be jumping to the 2nd book, Blood and Gold. I don't know. I'll look it up. Snow and Gold, Steel and Snow, Blood and Gold. I think that those are the titles. With Daenerys, chapter 42, Daenerys, whatever it is, 4. And if you enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to do all those things that people do under similar circumstances. All right, looking forward to talking to you again. Bye-bye.